Nathan Fielder's pilot for The Rehearsal is thematically incredible. Right now, in the first episode, Nathan reveals to Core, a man he's having a conversation with in his home, that he's actually already had this conversation over and over again, 12 times, word for word, with an actor inside of a replica of Core's apartment. A replica he made by having fake maintenance men come in and take 3D scans of the building, and using HBO's money to create a perfectly to scale apartment. Now, to someone more familiar with Nathan's previous work, they might not be that surprised at this extraordinarily strange and invasive length Nathan went to just for a joke on the show. But for Core, a normal human being not familiar with Nathan Fielder or his previous work, you would expect him to react quite understandably troubled, confused, and even scared of this extreme violation of privacy. However, that's not what happens.
In a replica of your home with an actor playing you.
Wow. Wow.
He takes it on the chin, and this violation of privacy is never brought up again for the rest of the episode. Surprisingly, Core never even questions what Nathan has done. The beauty of Nathan Fielder's shows, Nathan For You and now The Rehearsal, is what he reveals in human beings when they react not how you would expect them to in strange situations. Through his devious show hosting skills with vast elaborate plans, Nathan puts real human beings who don't even know him into very, very strange situations. And more often than not, they go along with it. They go along with way more than you would expect.
So I'm just gonna tuck you in bed, and I'm gone. And to make sure you're clear of that, I'm gonna tuck you in.
Okay.
Nathan doing this in his shows is not only hilarious, but also points out how passive and willing we are to put up with bullshit we encounter in regular life. How unwilling we are to question things that make us uncomfortable.
Wow.
That's what made Nathan For You so special to me. And it seems as though this quality will continue in The Rehearsal. In our first episode, we have Core, who's afraid to tell a friend about his white lie that he's held in for years, due to fear of retaliation and possibly even a violent outburst. His friend seems like a normal person, so his fear seems strange, but he's sure of it. He's sure he could lose his friendship. Nathan goes to great lengths in order to help this man tell his secret. The plan? Create a perfectly to scale replica of the bar he'll have his difficult conversation in. The replica bar is where he can have his rehearsal, a rehearsal to get through his fears of telling the truth to his friend after so many years of lying. The lie? That he has a master's degree. That's it, nothing more. He just needs to tell his friend that he doesn't actually have a master's degree. Seems simple enough. Nathan serves as the master director of this operation. They audition an actress to play his friend. They even secretly have her set up a meeting with the real woman based on false pretenses, just so she can secretly take notes on her mannerisms. All of this just so Core can have the most accurate rehearsal possible. It's really incredible how through this whole process, Core and everyone else involved go along with Nathan's master plan. The plan seems like it may be extraordinarily overkill and expensive just for Core to practice telling a friend a hard truth. They have him practice over and over again. They have him experience what it would be like for his friend to lash out at him, like in his worst fears.
For years, we were trying to help you get a job because you said you had a master's degree, and that was all bullshit.
But more importantly, they also let him simulate the joy that would happen from an improved friendship after he lets out the truth. On the real day, his friend arrives and she says right away that she is not in a good mood. This stokes our audience expectations that maybe this woman really is sour and touchy, and maybe the truth will make her mad. But in the end, after a lot of stalling, Core comes clean, and his friend laughs and genuinely doesn't care. She comforts him and appreciates his honesty. And that's that. Ripping off the band-aid and all the production and theater that led to this moment suddenly feels solidified as unnecessary. Overkill. Earlier during the rehearsal, Core made a joke that he's like Charlie Bucket, and Nathan is like Willy Wonka, creating a world of theater. Nathan very quickly plays this for awkward comedy, and it seems to be nothing more than a funny moment that passes. By the end of the episode, Nathan wants to come clean to Core that he had lied to him at some point during the filming of the show, and that his win at trivia night was partially falsified. it wasn't an honorable victory because of Nathan's actions. We see Nathan get very nervous to tell him the truth, and right when we think we're going to see Core's reaction,
I'm sorry. I want to say I'm sorry.
the camera cuts to the actor, the double of Core from earlier, and then he begins verbally berating Nathan. We're now seeing that Nathan prepared a rehearsal for his own truth, and in this rehearsal, it did not go very well. We cut back to the present, showing that Nathan actually decides not to tell Core the truth out of fear of experiencing this verbal berating in real life. This is truly ironic, as the show thematically just wrapped up with our subject telling his truth and having nothing bad happen. It shows us that what he was afraid of the entire time really wasn't much of a threat after all. It was all going to be okay. In the end, all of this rehearsing and worrying was for naught. And that's what makes it so ironic to see Nathan avoid his own confrontation with Core. He's living in his own memory of the rehearsal where it didn't go well, and he's choosing not to tell the truth out of fear. Out of fear that it will become real. At this moment, Pure Imagination, a song from the original Willy Wonka film, starts playing. We see a shot of the replica bar, and the lyrics begin.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination.
It is dastardly haunting, and it reminds us of how Nathan and his team operate like all-seeing gods in the show. It seems like the main theme of the show moving forward is having a rehearsal of what may or may not happen to you, and how this emulates an unknown future in our heads, rehearsing out imaginary fears over and over again, something we're all familiar with. If you think about it, this moment is really incredible, because it's in our thoughts, a world of pure imagination, we often suffer the most. We get worried about the future, and our fears are often much more harsh than what is bound to happen to us. Lately, there's been a lot of tweets about how Nathan has powers similar to a god or the devil, and how he uses his powers for weird, awkward human comedy rather than for destruction and evil. Going into his new show, I wasn't sure where he'd take us, but I'm glad that after all the comedy, it also led us somewhere beautiful. I'm very excited to see where the rehearsal continues to lead us, because so far, the pilot was truly amazing. This has been Zane Berry from Tall Skeleton. Have a nice night. You can support Tall Skeleton on Patreon below.